You are the light. It's not on you, it's in you.
I think all great pieces of art speak to each other. When a work conveys the honest essence of humanity, you can't help but find that essence everywhere you look. When it comes to analyzing our favorite stories, seeking out different mediums can be just the thing we need to find nuances that we didn't see previously. Two works have taken over the world in the past few months: anime's hottest topic, Dandadan, and music's fall anthem, Chromakopia, can reveal a lot about each other. To me, Dandadan is an endlessly fascinating juggernaut of modern anime, one that I could make a dozen videos on. But I can't get Chromakopia out of my head, and no series comes to mind more when listening to that album than Dandadan. So I want to use the ideas within Chromakopia to give us a view into the meanings and intent behind Dandadan. Dandadan leverages absurdism as its vessel for storytelling, tackling themes of romance and community while weaving together a string of the most insane situations you could ever imagine. The insanity that is Dandadan drives the appeal of the story, but the absurdist quality of its storytelling creates its central meaning, that through the insanity of life, community and human connection is how we forge our identities. At its core, it's a romance between two people who believe in opposite things while coming from opposite worlds, as they slowly build an attraction for one another. Dandadan uses ghosts and aliens to zoom out from the isolated romance and add a larger point of view about the odd realities of life we must accept and the universal ludicrousy that is being human. Chromakopia is Tyler the creator reflecting honestly on his past and present, describing the highs and lows of life, from fear of paranoia to the multifaceted difficulties of being in a relationship. Tyler finds meaning by looking back to his discography, both sonically and in his lyrics, to show the development and change from who he once was to the more open and real interpretation of his life currently. Romance is the core of each narrative. To better understand the relationship between Momo and Okarun, we can look to Tyler's renditions on love throughout Chromakopia, and only conceptual spoilers for Dandadan moving forward. Welcome to Annie Essays. Here we overanalyze anime and manga, with each video on the channel created under the belief that anime, same as film and literature, is worthy of in-depth criticism. If you enjoy my videos, then consider supporting me through Patreon or my YouTube membership. More information about benefits from those memberships at the end of this video.
Can you feel that light inside? Can you feel that fire?
Dandadan tells the story of Momo and Okarun, two unlikely high school peers that soon find themselves with ghosts and aliens. The pair of them are both heavily invested in their own subcultures. Okarun obsesses over aliens, while Momo comes from a lineage of ghost hunters, even though she doesn't identify with them as much nowadays. Dandadan classifies as a pure coming-of-age story, as both Momo and Okarun have to come to terms with their own identities while navigating a world that becomes increasingly insane. For both Momo and Okarun, it is about understanding their own unique fire, interests that they find interesting, and making connections with others, not just because you share something common, but the fact that the other person likes something makes you want to learn more about it. For Momo, it's learning about aliens, and Okarun learning about ghosts. In many ways, Tyler's character on Chromakopia is at the end of his search for identity, as the many masks his characters wear melt away for a final person ready to show the world their true self. On the opening track, St. Chroma, Tyler speaks about the light and fire inside you, the things that make each of us unique, as maybe the most important element of the identity puzzle. Momo has struggled to find a place that she fits in. We first meet her breaking up with her lame boyfriend after he pressures her into sex. Momo seems to be popular enough at school, but also has a sort of delinquent side. Her friends observe her from afar, as if disconnected in a way that only those searching for self-identity can be. Before discovering aliens and ghosts, Momo is seen as a high school girl who limits herself to conform with others, and Okarun, an outcast who fails to make friends because he embraces his interests. The supernatural elements of the show push forward their search for balance, the balance between being yourself and not feeling like an outcast. Paranoia has always filled the edges of Tyler's work, as early as Colossus off his second studio album, Wolf. For Tyler, this feeling of paranoia doesn't just stem from the parasocial relationships he has with an audience that knows everything about him while he knows nothing about them, but it comes from all angles. As his status and wealth grow, no matter where he turns, there will be people looking to take advantage of him. His song Annoyed comes early in the track list, hovering over how Tyler will tackle his more intimate relationships, as the paranoia of celebrity makes its way even in the healthiest of circumstances. In Dandadan, paranoia takes on many forms, most notably through the haunting of Okarun. The first episode is the discovery that spirits and aliens exist, and now our characters have to navigate through various insane situations while no one at their school would ever believe what's going on. At times, Okarun can't even go to the bathroom without Momo watching over him out of fear of a curse taking over his body. I find the kind of paranoia in Dandadan to be extremely compelling. Kids navigating your typical high school scene while unexplainable things continue to happen. But on the other side of the absurdity comes self-actualization, something Tyler achieves on Chromakopia, and it's what Momo and Okarun are working towards.
Darling, I keep falling in love.
This is the song that makes the connections between show and album become clear, as Dandadan's heart is a romance between Momo and Okarun, and Chromakopia, much like Tyler's other works, deals with intimate relationships. For a show about curses and aliens with top-tier shonen action sequences, insane character motivations, and an ungodly amount of fan service, it is romance that elevates it to the top of its class. Romance as the second main or subgenre of a series always comes as a mixed bag. Top to bottom, romance can be filled with overbearing and uninteresting tropes that often rear their head when an author tries to force it into a story that doesn't require it. That is anything but the case with Dandadan. Momo and Okarun's relationship has romantic undertones, but Okarun's innocence and excitement of having a friend keeps it from feeling stale. It adds so much extra tension to each encounter they face, as if taking down a horny grandma or horrifyingly creepy alien businessmen wasn't enough to keep the audience interested. You always have the underlying question on if Momo and Okarun will really act on any romantic feelings. Romance is an essential part of coming-of-age tales and should be treated as such, and so it's refreshing to have a popular shonen battle title like this give romance tropes the respect they deserve.
It's getting sticky, sticky, sticky. Bitch is getting sticky, sticky, sticky.
Sticky is the anthem of Chromakopia, as Tyler's knack for production pays off with an ensemble banger that brings together Lil Wayne's Sexy Red and Glorilla as the highlight midpoint of the record. Many of Tyler's best tracks come from his ability to blend various artists into the themes and vibes of his album. Igor in particular did that amazingly. Sticky is no exception, as Tyler leverages the energy from the other performers to revel in a sexual liberation. For me, Sticky represents Tyler's endless creativity and technical ability, and the animators who worked on Dandadan matched that step for step. There is no doubt this is one of the best animated shows of the year, and honestly would be frontrunner for best animated series if Riot didn't release Arcane Season 2. The anime's production is really a thing to behold, as it matches the feeling of the manga. Leaning into bursting color palettes and liquid sequences, the production never seems to be bothered by the daunting task the story makes for its animators. I think the staff deserves massive credit here, as the use of color really stands out to me. The production fits a story whose concept knows no bounds, in the same way Chromakopia sonically references Tyler's past albums to create a sound that is unabashedly himself. The production of the anime matches the absurdist reading of the text. Dandadan is about the insanity of life and the importance of finding meaningful connections within it. The action sequences nail the craziest moments, but that doesn't mean Dandadan is without smaller times. The show does brilliantly at showing the similarities between Momo and Okarun by weaving their story together even when they aren't near each other. On top of that, they expand side characters wonderfully, like in episode 7 when we get maybe the episode of the year. Both Momo and Okarun have lived with a mask on, as pressure from peers has forced them to suppress their identities and even abandon the things they love. On the cover of Chromakopia, Tyler wears a mask, as if trying to hide from the world. But inside, his music shows his true self. Taking your mask off is a lifelong journey, and one that leads to community. Community is a central idea in Dandadan as it lives in the occult. Dandadan is really about finding deep human connection as a way to navigate the world. At school, when rumors start to spread or people misconstrue Momo or Okarun's intentions, they can now rely on each other to help set the story straight. In a world where demons and aliens start running rampant, our best defense is not facing it alone. For a series that seems to be so off the walls, I think a major key to its success is the easy to grab onto idea of human connection and romance. For me, the best stories always overflow with nuance. For Dandadan, the more grandma cats and girls who think they are holy that start to show up, the more the intimate moments where Momo and Okarun make progress in their relationships become all the more important and satisfying.
Chasing a ghost. I don't know who he is.
Near the end of Chromakopia, Tyler once again reflects on growing up without a father. Tyler used his complicated upbringing as the engine for his early material, but after some artistic turns, it's actually been a while since we got a track that rawly reflects on this topic. Near the end of the album, where Tyler has tried to discover himself, he comes back to the place that sparked his discography, his relationship with his absent father. But now Tyler has the polish of a Grammy-winning artist, and he puts it on full display for one of the most emotionally hard-hitting tracks he's ever made. Much like the track Noid at the start of the album, where Tyler makes you look at everything to come with a slanted point of view, like him makes you rethink everything that came before. All of Tyler's insecurities, challenges, and ways of thinking are seen in a new light as you feel a type of paranoia that Tyler might never truly understand himself if he can't reconcile where he came from. In Dandadan, Momo and Okarun are the ones chased by ghosts, the past coming to infect the present, creatures unable to move on and let a new generation take the world in their own way. In Dandadan, Momo and Okarun must deal with the past and future at the same time. The scale of Dandadan is massive, and with it comes grand themes. For any story that deals with ghosts, I can't help but think how they weigh down the present. How many of us today feel pressure by people who haven't lived for decades, and how that external pressure influences our identities. For Tyler, it's far less abstract, as missing his father growing up has left a mystery on who he perceives himself to be. At the end of an album that looks honestly at Tyler's life and relationships, he turns his focus in the opposite way, hoping his audience can reach into themselves and find honesty and identity. Dandadan is the type of story that evokes the same feeling, as Momo and Okarun find connection with each other and others, so the audience can start to empathize with those around them. At its core, Chromakopia is an album of honesty, as Tyler takes us into his experiences. Dandadan is one of absurdity, as demons and aliens exist at the same time, and Momo and Okarun continue to find themselves in crazier situations. The world we live in is absurd, and now more than ever, we take in horrifying and unthinkable information and have no choice but to keep moving forward. Stories like Dandadan are important to help us understand that life will always push past the believable, but navigating the unbelievable is a task for the collective, not the individual. I think great art will always help us understand other great art. At a glance, it may seem like a stretch to compare a new album to a new anime, but I think unique comparisons can be a great way to find new readings into popular stories. I know the concept for this video is a bit out there, and who knows if anyone will even watch it long enough to make it here, but I think all great pieces of work speak to each other in one way or another. For Chromakopia, it used honesty, and Dandadan absurdity, and both ways allowed their stories to leave such a large impact on me. And every time I listen to Chromakopia, it's Dandadan that comes into my head. Chromakopia evolved Tyler's sound to a pointed experience that explores multiple angles of being in a relationship while dealing with the status music has created for him and his past. Dandadan is likely the frontrunner for 2024's Anime of the Year. Its concept is always hilarious, as sequences always seem to take the most wild turns. But underneath all of the flashy demons and aliens, magical powers, and grand fight scenes, is a story about two high schoolers slowly learning to embrace themselves while developing an attraction for one another. And by thinking about the similar ideas in both Dandadan and Chromakopia, it helped me understand new angles into each. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this one was kind of different than usual, but I couldn't get this concept out of my head. If you like my videos, then consider checking out my Patreon or YouTube membership. Here you get access to the channel's Discord server where I host my monthly anime watch-alongs. Soon we'll be watching Aoashi, so be on the lookout for that. You can also get your name at the end of every video and exclusive monthly update posts. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.